Welcome to the Freak Show, fellow freaks.
I'm Matthew Brockmeyer.
And I'm Christa Carmen.
This is
Murder Coaster.
Welcome back to Ghost October, ladies and gentlemen. And today I will be interviewing my own co-host, the amazing Bram Stoker-award-winning, Shirley Jackson Award-nominated author of The Daughters of Block Island, Beneath the Poet's House, and Something Borrowed, Something Blood-Soaked. My sister from another mother, who shares the same birthday as me. That's right. We were both born on July 2nd, both weird and moody cancers, fellow lovers of the macabre and writers of horror. The one, the only, Christa Carmen, about her newest novel, How to Fake a Haunting. Welcome to your own show, Christa. And just to let you know, there's fake applause going on right now.
Thank you. What an introduction. It can't get much better than that. Thank you for having me at our own show. But seriously, like we have so many things that we always want to cover, and you are nice enough to devote a whole episode to like my new book, which is very cool. So thank you.
Of course. So let's cut through the bullshit and get to the meat. Ghosts. Why do we love them? What is it that we're so damn attracted to? Why are ghosts such a part of the human experience?
Oh, we really are going right for the meat of it. Man, I think I've been thinking a lot about this lately because I weirdly, I don't know why I'm so surprised, because the book deals with a haunting, fake or fake or real, whatever you, either one, take your pick, I guess. But I have weirdly been surprised by how many like readers, reviewers, podcast hosts have instantly wanted to just go to like, why ghosts? Like, why are we fascinated with them? Why do you seem to have kind of progressed your fascination with them? Because like in Daughters of Block Island, try not to spoil anything, but there was this mulberry maiden figure, and it seems very ghostly, but it ends up being not what it seems. And then in Beneath the Poet's House, there's sort of like the ghost of Sarah Helen Whitman that, again, could or could not be. But then in this book, again, I'll try not to spoil, but I will just say it's sort of like, you think that like maybe things are not what they seem, but then it's almost kind of like things are very much what they seem. So there has been a progression for me in what I'm interested in exploring. And I almost wonder, I hate to like bring everything back to like, I'm a mom now, and so like motherhood colors everything. And I don't think that motherhood colors everything I do, especially when it comes to writing. I do like to explore fears and societal, issues and all sorts of different things in my writing. But I do wonder if sort of like those fears that come with being a parent, especially in today's day and age, where like some people send their children to school and they don't come home, which is like horrifying. I wonder if like more of my sensibilities have been interested in like ghosts and death and the afterlife, and because there's such a like pervasive fear of, they say like being a parent is like having your heart walk around outside your body, and like I don't like to think of worst case scenarios, but like you kind of, sometimes there's just so much fear surrounding the love that you have for your child that like, I don't know, I wonder if I'm interested in ghosts and the afterlife because I have like I just hope that, I so hope that the only time I have to think about my own daughter's mortality is when I'm lying on my deathbed and like she's, an older lady herself. And I think I use a lot of my writing to explore fears of like if that were to not happen, or like worst case, I use writing to explore a lot of worst case scenarios, whether it's addiction, I'm in recovery. I like to talk a lot about in my stories about like relapse and things that I'm afraid of related to that. So it's sort of like this way to explore like the ultimate fear in a safer, more controlled environment. That was a very long answer to your first question.
But it was very unique. I didn't expect that. I expected more
Yeah.
like, it's a remnant of the past. It's bringing us this, the standard stuff that you hear. That
Yeah,
was
I don't know. I
very
just think
interesting.
I've been like super like I'm very I always thought like my Lydia Beetlejuice phase was like more in my past of that like angsty like teenage goth girl, but like I'm weirdly more like I don't know. I'm very consumed with like thinking about ghosts and the afterlife and like some of the horror movies that I've enjoyed the most lately have to do with like I think we talked a little bit about Bring Her Back, that movie. Like, did we talk about it? Bring Her
No,
Back?
but I loved it. I thought
Yeah,
I really liked it.
same. And that end scene just like gutted me and ripped out my insides. And I thought that movie was so brilliant because they made what was her name? Laura was the main woman's character. The woman that plays I think her character's name is Laura. She's the actress is the woman that was in Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. Um but they kind of like made her into a monster. But she was so human for me by the end. In like the same way of like I recently reread Pet Cemetery and it's like you that book is all about the progression of a father like doing something heinous and awful, but it's also not. It's like somebody with the power to know what comes after death and wielding that power. I don't know. But there was a horror movie I saw maybe a year or two ago, and it's essentially about a woman who is a mother who dies. I'm gonna totally spoil this movie, but I guess maybe if I don't tell you the title, then you'll have to piece it back together if you want to be spoiled. Um, you think that this lesbian couple in the film is like trying to do the best thing for this child, and then you find out that like I think they stole the child from the mother and like killed her, and the mother's ghost is like so viciously angry that she's like come. I love the idea of like a love being so strong that it transcends the veil between life and death. And so yeah, that just like that type of are there ghosts question has been like really fascinating me lately.
Quick side note, if you're really into ghosts, check out our History of the Ghost bonus episode that is currently up on YouTube. Yes, we actually have a YouTube channel. We've never promoted it. We've never even mentioned it. It's not even on our website, but it is actually there. And we usually just run our audio feed through it, but we actually put a video up of us and our friends, Mark and Jim from the Horror Movies and Shit podcast, doing this History of Ghosts. It was a lot of fun, didn't you think, Krista?
Yeah, totally. It was totally fun and it made me want to watch like a million movies that I somehow have not seen.
So often in literature, we see the unreliable narrator, a story told in first person where it's revealed the narrator isn't being honest with us. Like Gone Girl is one of the classics. But in How to Fake a Haunting, I felt like it transcended the unreliable narrator into an unreliable universe. We can't trust
Mm.
anything. It kind of brings up what is reality in a book? How far can it be stretched? And why don't you tell us how you as a writer face these questions?
Yeah, I mean, the concept of the book of a woman faking a haunting so realistic and like slowly progressive or progressing in such a way that it is realistic is bonkers. Like, I mean, I approached it as like realistically as possible, but it was hard. It was a really good question because there were scenes, in particular, the fly scene, where when I was writing that scene, I sort of had to keep like taking myself out and putting myself back in and like taking the characters, kind of like pausing the characters because it was hard to. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a tough writing feat to write characters on the page that are both experiencing different realities at the same time. Because you, as the writer, have to kind of decide which is the true reality, but really, yeah, it is a great question because like everybody's own reality is their reality. So it's like in that fly scene, I think I can like say this without really spoiling, but like Lainey decides that she's going to experience things in one way, despite what is going on directly in front of her, because she kind of had two choices in that moment. She could, because that's a place where she starts to think like maybe Adelaide, her friend that's helping with the haunting, is like going rogue because their plan was to release some flies in the house and make Callum, the husband, think that there was like something crazy going on. But it's not like 1 or 2 thousand flies, it's like 10,000. Like the whole house is like crawling with flies. And so she has to kind of decide in that moment if she's going to acknowledge it and then still try to just pretend to Callum that like there has to be a logical reason for this, or she's going to pretend like his reality and her reality are just two completely different things. And she ultimately goes that route. And it was like a weird writing exercise in that like I I kind of had to think like when I was writing Callum's dialogue, I had to like put myself in his position where he's acknowledging that there's like flies crawling all over his body and she is just in this other reality of like you're annoying and like you're crazy and nothing is going on and like it's starting to rain and our daughter is outside and like I have to get her to my parent. Like it was fun to balance this like bonkers universe with the like her kind of going along pretending everything is normal. Um but yeah, it was a weird book to write. And I mean this book gave me a lot of trouble in writing it. There was a lot of like back and forth to make things shake out the right way. So I guess like the answer to the question is like as a writer, it was like kind of tough to do that.
Well, I mean, no spoilers or anything, but that end is just the ending is just absolutely goes bonkers. Like you don't really know what's happening at all. It's so crazy. It's so cool.
Well, thanks. Yeah, the ending is weird. I wanted it to be weird. I know some people probably don't like it, but it was the only way in my mind, as the person that created this story, like in my mind, that was the only way it could end. Like I knew it was going to end that way from the very beginning, more or less. And that's maybe kind of why it was so difficult because it was like getting from point A to point B, knowing what those 2 points were and making everything in the middle like add up perfectly.
Right? Like setting up a chessboard.
Yeah.
Well, it was very unique and original.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, here's a cheesy question. This was such a page turner, edge of the seat. I couldn't put it down, and I think it would make an awesome movie. So, you've probably been asked this before, but who would you see playing the characters in a movie?
So, I mean, I don't think that's cheesy. That's fun to think about, right? But weirdly, I haven't been asked it for this book. I was asked it a bunch for like Daughters of Block Island and Beneath the Poet's House. I haven't like thought about it at all. So Lainey would have to be somebody, actually, you know who just popped into my head as like a possible Lainey would be like Jessica Chastain because she's somebody that could play like very put together and very like anal and type A and controlling, but could get, I mean, I guess it kind of, her progression would almost in a way mirror a bit of the character that Jessica Chastain plays in Crimson Peak, where, she starts out like very, in these beautiful velvet corsets. And I mean, obviously, metaphorically speaking, right? Like they're not wearing, my book is modern, they're not wearing corsets, but like very put together and creating an illusion for the other characters, faking a reality, if you will. And then by the end, she's just like running through the mansion with, knives in hand or whatever crazy shit happens at the end of that movie. But yeah, I could see Jessica Chastain. Adelaide would have to be somebody like wild and crazy and fun. I'm thinking of like, I mean, they're supposed to be in their late 30s in the book. I could almost see Adelaide being played by somebody a little bit younger because she's got like kind of those wild. I'm thinking of like all those fun kind of like Gen Z horror movies that have been coming out lately, like Bodies, 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 and oh God, I don't know, like Talk to Me. Maybe just like some seemingly younger, wild and crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I got no names. I could think on that a little bit more. And then Callum, Callum would have to be, I don't like the first thing that came to mind was like Jeremy Renner because I could see him as like, again, like sort of like, there's a scene in the very beginning of the book. I think, is it the prologue or is it like, I think it's a prologue. Um, where they've like just bought their house and you see a glimpse of them as they like were when they were married, but he's starting to kind of go off the rails a bit. And I could just see, and again would have to be somebody that's like could seem like they were very put together in the beginning and then by the end is just like disheveled and haunted and hunted and so I'm like picturing like the buttoned up Jeremy Renner that you see in some films and then like the Jeremy Renner in like The Town with Ben Affleck where he's just like freaking nuts and I could see like an element of that to Callum. I don't know. These are probably terrible answers.
I was thinking of Ben Affleck because I don't to be honest, he's not my favorite actor in the world. And he's kind of like got this, in my opinion, like goofy, douchey face, like, and that's like the kind of the character, right? You know what I mean?
That's actually not a bad, and I mean, not to poke, but I mean, he's got like the whole vibe of like alcoholic that needs to clean up his shit a little bit, right? Like, hasn't he been, and I say that from like a place of love as somebody who is an alcoholic in recovery, but like, hasn't he, like, didn't Jennifer Garner leave him because he had like alcohol problems? It seems like he could fill the role.
I've seen pictures of him looking pretty bloated.
Art, imitating, yeah. No, I like that.
Running around looking not very good.
Yeah.
So your work is always filled with historical figures and a rich history of creepiness, from Sarah Whitman and Edgar Allan Poe, Mercy Brown, H.P. Lovecraft, vampires, ghosts. And I just love the way you represent everything with your Rhode Island connections. This new one even mentioned Bathsheba Sherman real quickly. So, what considerations do you take when drawing in all of this vast tapestry of history and creepiness?
So, for this book, I actually didn't have a super rich tapestry of like historical Rhode Island anything. And I think that was why I was like struggling with it a little bit in the beginning was because like Daughters of Block Island was so grounded in the setting of Whitehall and that house's history and its connection to Block Island and the way the people that lived and, were connected to the mansion were connected to the island. And then the Beneath the Poet's House, 88 Benefit Street, the house at 88 Benefit Street, like cannot be divorced from the action in the book. It's like the literal conduit between the past and Sarah Whitman and Edgar Allan Poe, and then Saoirse and Emmett in the present. So when I wrote this, like at first I was like, okay, well, this is sort of the point. The point is that they are living in a house that they built that's recently built. That, I think there's two different times in the book where I say something like, where I have Lainey say something like, there was no murder here. There's no like heart beating beneath the floorboards. We're not on an Indian burial ground, like circa, 1980s early King. But like, I wanted, so I was playing with that idea of like, this isn't the historical, like setting driven book. It's what's inhabiting the house that's like driving the events. And I took that as far as I could. And then I was sort of like, but it also feels so ungrounded. Like, I think I was like significantly through writing the book where I felt like I could just pick up the action and like set it anywhere in the country. And I did not like that feeling of unmoored, like just, I didn't like it. So I said, well, what if I juxtaposed it with a place super rich with history? And that's where everything came together with like the backdrop of the Newport mansions and the two main characters working for the Preservation Society of Newport County. And as soon as I made that connection, I felt like everything kind of came together and it was so much easier to write. And then it was really fun to write kind of like a bunch of Easter eggs in that last chapter of like they now, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like an element of kind of like an occult museum at the end of the book. I won't tell you like who, what, where, when, or why, but um yeah, so it was just fun to kind of pull in some more of those Rhode Island influences and things that I had written about in previous books, because I do feel like it, I don't know, it's just a way to kind of make a book a little more my own.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing like the haughtiness of the Newport mansions as opposed to like an occult museum, which was like kind of seen as a lowbrow. That was fun. I heard they used to call those mansions just summer cottages.
I know, right? Which is so wild because they're so massive and opulent and just, I
It's got to
mean,
be
they're,
tongue in cheek. It's got to be like just like my
oh
summer
no, like for
cottage. You know what
those,
I mean?
for the Vanderbilts, those were their summer cottages
That
where
was
it
a
was like,
cottage, huh?
yeah,
That's
wild.
crazy. So your work is a distinct blend of the gothic with psychological horror and supernatural suspense thriller, which is kind of like both old and new, traditional and modern. Where do you think you got this blend from? And do you feel like you lean one way or another, more gothic, more thriller, or is the gothic a thriller in a way?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think that writing anything in 2025 is tough. I think like, you know, when The Monk and Dracula and some of these early Gothics were being published, like all, they're you know, they're not everything felt like it had been done already. I mean, we live in a crazy world where like 6,000 new books are uploaded to Amazon every day, and it's like things are just recycled and rehashed and reused and revamped and rebooted. I mean, there's even just a million words to say like what we do with all these stories all the time. So I mean, I think every writer that like is trying to get better with every book or with everything they write or is trying to stay relevant has to think a little bit about like, okay, well, I want to tell this type of story, but I want it to be different and mine. So I think the best example of this is like when I sat down to write The Daughters of Block Island. I wanted like I always felt like my first novel was going to be gothic because it was something that I liked reading growing up, and I felt like it was the best way to write a really rich setting, and I was into that. But when I sat down to write The Daughters of Block Island and I started writing a traditional gothic with like the torrential rain and the decaying, you know, manor and the, you know, people with secrets and the, you know, potentially supernatural that could have a real world explanation and like all these ingredients of the Gothic, I got, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks into writing it and I was like, why am I so bored? Like, if I'm bored as the writer, this is going to be terrible for the reader. Like, no one's going to want to read this. Like, it's so boring because I'm essentially just writing another version of something that's been done a million times. Um, and it was also hard to not think of the fact that, like, the characters, like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I am writing the quintessential Gothic novel. And wouldn't the characters, like, in this day and age, be like, we're in a Gothic novel. Like it's hard to not
Mhm.
have an awareness of tropes even in like real life if something like you're like, oh, this feels like a horror movie because, you know, we're all drinking in somebody's parents' basement and somebody says, I'll be right back. You know, it's like when life imitates art, you feel and you see the tropes. Um,
One of the biggest
I was
tenets
like,
of postmodernism,
there you go.
or meta,
Exactly.
as they would call it, like
Right.
today.
So I said, well, the characters are going to feel the same way that I feel. And so I think one of the first like the it's chapter one. There is a prologue in Daughters of Black Island too, but at the time I didn't start with a prologue. I ended up sitting down and writing the actual first line of Daughters of Black Island, which was Blake knows she's in a gothic horror novel the moment she steps off the rain-slicked ferry. And I said, well, I'm just going to pretend like this girl believes that she's in a gothic novel. I mean, obviously she's not. It doesn't end up being tongue in cheek. It ends up being like she's a bit shaky in her mental health, and there are people on the island that want to exploit that shakiness. But that kind of broke it open to where I could play with those tropes, but do them differently and poke fun at them and try to make them different. And then I kind of just tried to, like with Beneath the Poet's House. I mean, I think it's a little bit of the same of that, where it's just like taking, kind of like the house and the past, and then just like spinning it and spinning it. I feel like the best encapsulation of like the weirdness of Beneath the Poet's House is like that scene where they do the seance and they're like actually tripping on LSD, and I don't know, like I just tried to, every scene that could be, instead of just doing like the traditional seance scene where they're sitting around a Ouija board, it's like, let's throw some LSD in. It's just trying to pull, flip everything on its head, even as you're doing it. And then with this one, How to Fake a Haunting, I didn't really actually set out to do it. Like I didn't do it consciously, which I don't know, maybe means I'm like becoming a better writer, or maybe it just kind of shook out that way, where I didn't really think this was like gothic when I was writing it. I was kind of viewing it as a more modern story, and then it just kind of additional elements of like creepiness and past secrets coming to light just sort of ended up coming out anyway.
Have you seen Conjuring Last Rites?
I have not. I don't. We've heard you said it was terrible, right? And I've heard from a million other people that it was terrible.
Yeah, but no spoilers. But there is like a tie-in. Like there's similar aspects to your book in it.
Right. There's something about mirrors, right?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
There's a full-on fight with a mirror. But I thought you did it way better.
Thank you. And I mean,
they're
again,
like literally fighting a mirror that's like attacking.
Oh my God, that's wild.
It's hilarious.
I
I was laughing in the movie theater because
I have not seen it, but like one thing I have seen is like Oculus, and I purposely didn't rewatch Oculus like at any point in the, like it's been years and years since I've seen that Mike Flanagan directed horror movie that I know has something to do, like I have a terrible memory, so if I watch something and then I don't rewatch it or talk about it for a few years, I like remember that I liked or even loved it, but I don't like remember any plot points. But yeah, I mean, like again, like I said, it's so hard in 2025 to like do something completely new that doesn't have some elements of stuff that's been done before. So the only thing you can really do is just try to make it your own, spin it in enough ways and enough number of times so that it does appear different, even though if like the pieces of it are gonna, you're gonna be paying homage to things whether you like it or not.
Well, the Amityville Horror gets mentioned a lot in your new book, and many of the events in your book echo that famous haunting, and we of course have been covering it this month. So what are your thoughts on the Amityville Horror? All hoax, all truth, somewhere in between? How do you see this?
I still don't know. I've often said that like, like, I mean, I have a 5-year-old, right? And sometimes you have that conversation of like, which superpower do you wish you could have? Like flying, invisibility, and like, and this is probably why when you asked me 2 years ago to join this true crime podcast, I did, is like, I weirdly wish my superpower was like, getting to know those like missing details of like famous cold cases and unsolved murders and unexplained mysteries. Because those are the things that always fascinate me, and you just can't know. It's like we when we're not involved in a situation, we always think that things should be rational and they should have a rational explanation, and they should, should move on to B, should move on to C, or like 2 + 2 should equal 4. Like we think that things should have a connection, and it's just that we don't know all the pieces. But the fact of the matter is like sometimes you do, I don't know, like there's just pieces of that have like disappeared with the people who unfortunately lost their lives. And also when you add drugs and alcohol to the mix, like there's going to be wildly, disparate realities. Like everybody probably had a different reality of what went on in that house.
That was
So
something they
yeah.
actually said later, that they felt like that they were each living in a different world, in a different realm, and that they didn't understand how the other person saw it, and they felt like they experienced it differently
Yeah,
because of the ghost, because they were like in this.
which is a crazy thing to think about. But yeah, I mean, even if you just think of like a not so crazy situation, like I don't know, and you talk to somebody after the fact, and you're like, how did you experience that? And it's just like it's I don't know, it's wild to I mean, people bring their whole selves into any situation and all their history and all their background and all their beliefs. And then when you like collide a bunch of those experiences together, along with like weapons and drugs and whatever was going on, if Butch actually, I don't know. I had still like we went through the whole case again, and I just like don't have an opinion because I just feel like there's no way to really get your claws into like the true meat of what went down there. What about you? What do you think? Like if you had to give like your best guess right now of what you think happened, what would you say?
I think that they thought something happened in that house, but they exaggerated it, and because at first he was like it was all psychological. It was like, and I think something violent happened. I think something an event happened there that was not cool, and that they left and they blamed it on the energy in the house. And they even came out and said, "Well, we think Butch DeFeo is completely innocent because George said that he was influenced by the spirits in the house that do something
Mm.
bad." And then eventually, I don't know how much. I feel like they fabricated a bunch and started even actually kind of lying how much of that and why, I don't know. And there is that question if they were all high on Quaaludes, like because Christopher said he found the bag of Quaaludes, so I don't know. And one of the things is a lot of the research that you read all contradicts each other, and you read these different books and one says one thing, one says another. And the books even like low key diss each other, like mention the other authors and are like saying, well, they don't know what they're talking about. And, we don't pretend to know everything. I always say this, we're just storytellers. We're not investigative journalists. We don't have fact checkers. And just recently on Facebook, it's been pointed out to me that apparently it was not Dawn's room, but Allison's room that Missy moved into. And that's my
Oh.
bad. I got that wrong. I own it. I admit it, and if you listeners have things you think we should know, like we always say, let us know at murdercoasterpodcast@gmail.com. We don't pretend to know everything. We're just
No,
people.
yeah, we're just
We just got a bunch of new information about the two-spirit Fred Martinez. And
yes.
we were wrong about his height. He is actually much taller than we said in the show. And I didn't know that. But the very nice guy who contacted us and let us know about Fred's height, and who loved the episode, by the way, has invited us to be part of a celebration of life for Fred next year. And we are honored to do that.
Yeah, that's very cool. We love when stuff like that happens from somebody listening to the show. So that's great.
Yeah, totally. Was there any event in your life that made you think of this story, that brought it about?
Yes. I think it's hilarious. My husband has given me permission to share this story. So, basically, and I will tell the whole story because I do think there's something that like contributed to me being in panic mode of like looking for a novel idea. So I was due to kind of give my publisher the next book, and I had written 50,000 words of a like 1950s, 1960s dual timeline, dual setting, like dark academia meets cult horror. and they were not as into it as I was, and so sort of sent me back to the drawing board. And I was like, oh crap! Like I didn't have really another novel idea on the ready to to write. So I was kind of in a panic, and I was like doing that thing where like I was looking for inspiration everywhere. Uh, and I sat down, one night to watch a movie with my husband, and we did that thing where you spend forever trying to pick a movie on all of the endless streaming devices. And I'm pretty sure he won that night, and I was like grumpy. And he picked the movie, and I was like, fine, we'll watch this movie. And then he instantly fell asleep. And I was like, what the heck, man? Like, and I grabbed his phone because I think it was closer, like mine wasn't around. And I snapped a picture of him because I was gonna like show him in the morning the timestamp, like, you fell asleep 2 minutes after we picked this movie. And then like a little light bulb went off in my brain. And I texted the picture to my phone. And then I went and I got my phone in the other room, and I sort of like stomped back into the living room and was like, what is this? Like some band like woke him up to be like, why did you just text a picture of you sleeping to my phone? And he was like a little disoriented and sort of like, what are you talking about? And I knew that if I was going to like pull this off, I had to full on commit to it. So I like when I became the best actor I could possibly be, and I just like committed to sincerity and was like, you like stop messing around with me. What did you like think it was funny? Did you think like maybe I had fallen asleep first and I like went into bed and you were like trying to prove to me that you were pretending to be asleep? Oh, so funny. And I like he started to finally be like, wait a second. If you are not messing with me, somebody took a picture of me sleeping on my phone. And I got him to the point where he was like, gonna go get a baseball bat because either there was an intruder or there was a ghost in our house. And I finally caved and laughed and was like, haha, gotcha. But then I sort of like walked away from that interaction like, that's interesting. Like, what if somebody really had a reason, like a really solid reason for wanting to keep that farce up to convince their spouse that there was a haunting in the house? Like, what would that look like? Why would they be doing that? And then the whole thing kind of started to fall into place.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah. If you can't play tricks on your long-suffering spouse, who are you gonna, if you can't test out novel ideas, who are you gonna do it to? Come on.
Well, we hide stuff around the house. Like we have one of those punching bags that looks like a clown,
Oh,
and we
nice.
like put it in the shower or in the bathroom or like in the kitchen sink. So when you walk down in the morning, it's in the sink. And we've also got like all these baby dolls and garden gnomes.
Do you get reactions one way or another? Like, do you get scared, or are you like immune to it now, or do you get a scare out of your wife?
Most of the times it's annoying. Sometimes it's hilarious. But the other day she took I just found the new creepy doll at the thrift store, and they assured me that it was haunted and told me if it wasn't haunted, I could bring it back and they would make sure it got haunted.
Oh my God. So is it haunted?
Oh yeah, of course. I don't know. But my wife put it in this chair that I'm sitting on the other day, and I did come into the office and turn the chair to go sit in it, and I was like, oh my God, and jumped.
It got you a little bit. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
You see like this Michael Myers I have in the window?
Yeah.
We used to put that everywhere. My daughter made me stop because it really freaked her out. It's kind of scary looking. But now this window looks down into the garden and our hot tub. So I'll go down there to the hot tub sometimes and look up and see the fucking Michael Myers and be like, God damn it. I got scared myself.
Still get you.
I put it there.
Oh, that's great. That is funny.
It is freaky to look up in a window and see someone looking down at you. Especially
definitely.
Shape.
Well, that's funny. And you're like low key giving me lots of ideas right now. I mean, it is spooky season.
Yeah, we also have rubber roaches. We put go to like to where the apples are and put roaches on them and stuff.
I got my daughter to get my husband good one day where my mom bought my mom had bought rubber snakes, like super realistic rubber snakes to put in a wreath on her door
Oh,
because
cool.
she hates when the birds, I mean, obviously she doesn't hate when birds make a nest, but like they use that door all the time. So if a bird makes a nest in there, it like totally sucks because then they're like dive bombing my parents' heads and like the nest gets disrupted when they open the door. So she put a rubber snake in the wreath so to discourage birds from making a nest in there. So she ordered a rubber snake, but it came in a pack of 4. And of course, my daughter, being like the cute little weirdo that she is, was like, I want rubber snakes. So my mom gave her like 2 of them. And we came home. And I'm always, I must be the writer part of me. Cause like, you do, for better or worse, right? Like we know how to write a scene. And if you think of a scene, at least I do, like my writer brain is sort of like, well, if this is the scene, like, where does it start exactly? And what do you have to say to like set it up well? So I like prepped my daughter a little bit and I opened the front door and I told my daughter to like stay outside for a second. And with the door open so that like my husband could hear me, I was like, now, come on, honey, get out of the garden. What do you bet? What? Don't dig. You're going to have to wash your hands. Like, come on, why are you digging in the garden? And she's like, oh, because, and then I kind of like walked in and like didn't really hear what she finished saying. And I was like, all right, come on in. Whatever you found, leaves, acorns, throw that out. And I had coached her to like cup her hands around the 2 rubber snakes. And she came in and my husband was sitting on the couch and she was like, Daddy, want to see what I got in the garden? And he was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, ha! And she threw the rubber snakes at him. And he like, I mean, you can't, it's like ingrained in your head, right? To like, you see 2 snakes flying at you. He was like, oh shit. And when we get him, I'm the worst. Like, and he has gotten me back recently too in the past, like a couple weeks. Because I deserve it. But if I get him or if we get him, like my daughter and I am the worst because I have I am not a sort of like good winner in a sense where like if I succeed in a prank, I am an asshole and I will just cackle. So I like fell on the floor cackling in laughter and just crying and could not. Yeah. But then he got me like really stupid. I was just like washing my face and brushing my teeth and like washing up in the bathroom. And he had the lights all off in the kitchen. And he like knows my routine. And that was a huge part of how to fake a haunting, right? Like if you know somebody's routine, you can exploit that. Like you can use that against them. So he knows that like I wash up and then I usually like go into the kitchen and kind of do a little once over, like, is the lunchbox clean for tomorrow? I put my phone on the charger, leave it in the kitchen for the night. So I came out of the bathroom and started to round the corner and he was like hunched below the counter. And when I turned on the light, he was just like, and just got me good. He also snuck out, like I go out to the chicken coop at night and shut it for the night. And he like hid behind the car and popped out at me. And
dude, that's scary.
Yeah. And well, and the other thing is when I'm on the giving end of the haunting, I'm an asshole because I cackle and die in laughter. But a like known fact about me with like my friends and family is like, if I get scared, I have like a millisecond trigger where like the millisecond that I realize that like I have been scared and there's nothing actually to fear. And like I get scared and then I instantly see that like, oh, it was like somebody tricking me or like, oh, it's like no big deal. I go from scared to anger so fast, like so fast. So I think when he scared me in the driveway, I like I had the chicken's like waterer with me and I just like chucked it at him and there's like a string of curses that come about. But this is like, again, like, no, like I walk my dog an hour every day and part of the walk I'm like kind of on a main road in my town. And anybody that knows me has known, like I say to people, if you see me walking my dog, do not beep your horn or like yell out your window at me because I'm not going to realize that it's you quick enough to not get startled. And I get startled and then I get like super angry. Like I'm probably going to get murdered at some point by like pissing off the wrong like dude that cat calls me or something. Because if you yell out your window at me and it startles me because I'm like listening to an audiobook or a podcast, I go from fear to like flipping off and screaming obscenities at whatever car has like passed me. Yeah, it's weird and bad. Actually, my husband's uncle, I thought it was like the nicest thing that anyone has ever said to me before. It was like a couple years ago, and I had known him for a few years. And he just like randomly said something at a family get together, and he was like, Chris, I saw you walking the dog kind of a bunch in the last few weeks, but I remembered what you said about hating when people like beep or startle at you. So every time I see you, I just don't do or say anything. And I was like, that's so kind. Thank you for not going out of your way to ever say hello to me. But I hate it. I guess it's probably because I'm immune to so much fear. Like horror movie jump scares do not ever get me. You like have to go out of your way to scare me. And then if you succeed, I get very angry.
You feel the wrath.
I feel instant wrath. How about you? Do you get mad? Do you laugh at yourself?
I just laugh. I don't get mad, really.
Okay, that's interesting.
What are you gonna do? So I get
inspired.
annoyed sometimes. I'm just like, again, really? You fucking clown in the shower. Okay.
That's a good one. We have a creepy little baby doll that I got for my daughter's halfway to Halloween party last year. Or I guess earlier this year. So maybe I should take that out and put it in the shower and see what happens this morning.
It's fun. Yeah, garden gnomes are good. But we have these like, I was at this garden place and they had the creepiest looking garden gnomes. And like, they're just like, and I was like, what? If they weren't meant to be creepy, they just are, you know what I mean? And,
right.
I go, what is up with those garden gnomes, man? And the lady's like, the girl who works there, she knows me. She's like, you want them? Take them. Go ahead, just take them. I was like, really? And she's like, yeah.
It's like
I don't want them around here. They're freaking me out. I feel like they're looking at me. And I was like, cool.
It's R.L. Stein's Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. That's
yes. Yeah, totally. Here, I got one right here. I'll show you.
Okay. Oh, that is awful. That totally looks like something that comes alive when your back is turned.
Right. It's so
and has
creepy
like
looking.
Nefarious intent.
He looks like some kind of weird pervert or something. He's up to no
good. No, not a fan. 0 out of 10 would have in my yard. Or
Tara won't let me put it in the garden. But it ends up getting
scare away anything beautiful.
Put it around the house. You know. I'll go put it in the kitchen right now when we're done talking.
Yes. I'm thinking I'm gonna prop up the creepy baby doll. And it's like motion censored too. So like if my husband opens the closet in the morning, its eyes will light up red and it like rips the head off a teddy bear. Like, come play with me.
It's like an actual Halloween prop. Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
People know that I like creepy stuff and they give me dolls. I got like a whole collection of baby dolls. Weird.
That's wild.
A grown man, but people are just like, here, you like creepy shit. You want this doll? Or they'll come over and see that I've got them in the bookshelf, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've got one of those. I'll bring it because I don't want it. I'll bring it by." I'm like,
so you have like your own little Annabelle collection.
Totally. Check out this picture I got at the thrift shop. Check this out.
Oh shit! Who's that? Who is that? Do his eyes follow you?
They assured me that was haunted too.
Do his eyes follow you? Also, who is it?
I don't know. Some random dude. Just some random guy. Looks like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I don't know. You could probably take a picture of it and reverse Google image search to maybe see who it is.
Oh yeah, I could. We were thinking about making up a big history. Like that is your great Uncle Herman.
Yeah.
Got in the Civil War and just make up a bunch of stuff.
Yes, I love it. But yeah, I mean, like as you can see, this shit is very fun for me, as I know it is for you. So I actually had an idea when I was like doing some promotion for the book before it came out, where I was thinking, I mean, I never really, obviously, this is not a fully fleshed out idea, But I thought it would be fun to kind of like get a hashtag going of like fake haunt your spouse or like fake haunt your root and like encourage people to like do the kind of shit I had done to my husband to research for this book and like see but I thought about it and I was like, well, people could get mean with that and it might go, also then like,
Somebody
I don't want
falls
to be
down and bangs their head and
right,
dies.
or like you give somebody a heart attack. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I don't encourage my readers or like horror talk people to go scare the shit out of their loved ones.
And talk about falling down and dying. Rip to Ace Frehley from Kiss, who fell down and hit his head and died. I'm so sad. He's an amazing guitar player.
Oh, I actually had not heard that. That's terrible. When did this happen?
It happened yesterday.
Oh my God. Brutal.
Yeah. Well, but we're going to be airing this on Wednesday, so it'll be like, it didn't happen yesterday when you're hearing this. It happened yesterday when we were recording this.
Gotcha.
But yeah, super sad. Yeah. And the book, and it is How to Fake a Haunting by Christa Carmen. We'll have links in the show notes. And anything you want to say? Anything new you're working on? Any new fun stuff? Anything going on?
I mean, definitely working on a new novel. It's a work in progress for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it's not set in Rhode Island. It's actually set in like London, Switzerland, Italy. It's kind of like a wildly deviant sort of or a wild deviation from what I normally write in terms of setting. And it's sort of like body horror, sci-fi meets, like, I hate comparing it to this, but I haven't found a better thing to kind of pitch it with yet, but like kind of like a Da Vinci Code like artifact chase meets like body horror and sci-fi and like regular horror and like psychological craziness and history and literature. So all those things that I like.
Well, you had me at body horror.
Yeah. But yeah, and no, I'm just so grateful to you for wanting to cover ghosts this month and feature the book and talk to me about it. And this was so much fun. And I hope anybody that has been interested in our ghost episodes maybe checks it out as well. That would be very cool.
I've been having a blast doing ghosts this October. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.